The HOA thought they could tear down my ranch's old bridge, but what they didn't know was that I'm a federal judge, and that bridge was protected by law. One quiet morning, I received a call from my neighbor telling me that the HOA had sent contractors to tear down the old wooden bridge on my ranch. That bridge wasn't just any piece of wood and nails. It was a historic structure, protected under federal preservation laws. My grandfather built that bridge over 60 years ago, and it was part of the land's official registry. The HOA had no authority there, no right, and certainly no clue who they were dealing with. When I drove out and saw the destruction, my blood boiled. The contractors were already hauling pieces of the bridge away, and a smug HOA board member stood there, acting like he owned the place. He told me the bridge was an eyesore and that it violated community standards. I calmly asked him, "Who gave you the power to touch federal property?" He smirked, saying the HOA board voted on it, and that was all the approval they needed. That's when I pulled out my identification, revealing that I was a federal judge. The man's smile vanished instantly. I didn't yell. I didn't threaten. I simply informed him that he had just ordered the destruction of a federally protected landmark. That wasn't just a violation of HOA rules. It was a federal offense. By the next day, I had already filed the necessary motions and informed the state's preservation office. The HOA board members thought it was going to be a simple case of homeowner noncompliance, but instead, they found themselves answering to federal law. Within weeks, the board was facing fines that would bankrupt their budget. Several members resigned immediately, and the president of the HOA was personally sued for damages. The government stepped in to fund the restoration of the bridge, and soon enough, craftsmen were working to bring it back to life, stronger and more beautiful than ever. I never bragged about being a judge before, but this time, justice wasn't just a principle, it was personal. The HOA thought they could bully a landowner into submission, but they tore down the wrong man's bridge. By the end, the HOA was stripped of much of its power, and the bridge stood as a reminder. Some battles you can't win with arrogance, because the law always has the final word. When the dust finally settled and the broken pieces of my bridge were hauled away for restoration, I stood there watching the land breathe again, as if justice itself had given it new life. The HOA thought they could intimidate me, silence me, and erase a piece of history just because they had power on paper. They believed their rules were bigger than the law and that no one would ever challenge them. But what they forgot is that arrogance always blinds you to the truth, and the truth was that the bridge wasn't just mine. It belonged to history, it belonged to the law, and it belonged to every future generation who would walk across it. I didn't raise my voice when I confronted them. I didn't throw insults or play their petty games. Instead, I did what I always do in the courtroom. I let the law speak for itself, and once the law spoke, there was no argument left. The HOA was left scrambling, board members resigning, and their so-called authority stripped down to nothing more than a hollow title. Watching them fall apart wasn't about revenge for me. It was about balance, about reminding them that real power doesn't come from bullying or fake rules written in binders. Real power comes from truth, from justice, and from knowing you're standing on the right side of history. That bridge, now under careful restoration by craftsmen, will return stronger and more beautiful than ever. And every time I see it, I'll remember that moment when the HOA thought they could win. They didn't just underestimate me, they underestimated the law itself. And the law does not bend to arrogance. The people who once mocked me now walk past quietly, their eyes lowered, because they know they pushed too far and lost everything. And in that silence, I find my victory. The bridge stands not just as wood and stone, but as a symbol that some things cannot be torn down, no matter how hard the world tries. And for me, this was never about a fight with the HOA. It was about protecting what's right, defending legacy, and proving that justice, when it comes, always comes with a force too strong to stop. The HOA tried to break me by tearing down my bridge, but in the end, they only broke themselves. Justice was served, the bridge was restored, and my land still stands strong. A reminder that arrogance never wins against the truth. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit like and subscribe for more. Stay tuned to Q's stories for the next jaw-dropping twist.